All right.
We are live now.
Okay. So namaste and assalamu alaikum, Barke Faraj Kamuss. Good afternoon. You're in the UK. I'm in India. It's evening time over here, 7 p.m. I think it's around 2 p.m. in the UK. What time is it over there?
It's just 2:30 in the afternoon, so it's amazing. Thank you.
Brilliant. So have you had your lunch?
Not yet. I'm waiting for this one first to go ahead, then I can relax.
All right, brilliant. So it's a pleasure having you on the Experience School Convos that we have every Sunday with inspiring authors like you. And we are glad to start season 2, and we are launching season 2 with you, Barke. Yours is a very inspiring story, and I'm sure that the audience will get a lot of learning and insight from you. And you are a fellow author. I also write books, and coincidentally, and it's serendipitous that you also work on being your own hero. And what I focus on is helping people to unleash, unbox, and understand more than anything the heroic potential that they have within them. And that's how I started the journey of launching something called the Karmavir Awards and the Karmakari books. Karmavir Awards almost 2 decades ago, and Karmakari books around 2010 is when we first started conceptualizing the theme of the book. And I'll tell you more about how I was inspired later. But it's amazing to have a real hero like you, because I feel that that after a dog, and I could see a cat in the background, that after a dog, a book is a man or a woman's best friend. And like I always joke with people that you can't take a dog everywhere, but you can take a book everywhere. And besides being a writer, I'm an avid reader. And I think it's one of the best gifts that parents can give to their children, the gift of the joy of reading and helping them to develop a reading habit, and that we can give to anyone at any time. Because even if you don't have a habit of reading, once you develop a habit of reading, you can travel the world sitting in your room, right? Because through the writer's research, through the writer's insights, you can get insights from different countries. And we have a lot of international authors lined up for season 2 from UK, from the US, from Sierra Leone, from Democratic Republic of Congo, people with very resilient breakthrough heroic stories who will inspire all our audience who are watching on Facebook Live today, and then on YouTube. And then we're also taking this lessons from the series into the schools, etc. So that is the intent of starting the Experience School Convos with inspiring and best-selling authors like you. So welcome once again, Barke, and salam alaikum. And I've read your story. We've interacted on the Kamara Youth's program earlier, where all of us were speakers, and I'm happy to be a part of that movement along with you and Unisa Kamara, to inspire the youth from around the world to find the heroic potential within them. So to begin with, Barke, tell me and the audience. I of course know a little bit about your life, but I want to know your life story for the next 5, 7, 9, 10 minutes. Take your time and tell us your life story right from childhood to the age of 16, when you were coerced into a arranged marriage, and the traumatic journey thereon, and how you have not broken down, even though you had a very traumatic journey, but you've broken through, and now you're helping others to break through. So it's exactly 7:04. For the next 10 minutes, I just want to hear you speak about your story. Please tell us.
Thank you. And wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Namaste to everyone else. Thank you so much for this opportunity, Jerry, and for everyone else who haven't heard about my story. Now, I was born like everybody else. Yes, I'm not alien, even though I thought I was. But I had a mom and dad. And the thing is, I only remember living with my grandmother. I didn't know what age was it. I asked, didn't get the answer. I wanted to know why. Why was I living with my grandmother? What did I do wrong? Or what have I done that was a big scene or a big thing that I had to be taken out of my family house. But nobody can tell me, and I couldn't ask those questions because I was scared. What if they threw me out too? What will happen to me? Now, at the age of, I would say 6, 8, between those time, I was going through sexual abuse at the time as well with someone who was close to the family, that I was so scared to even say anything about that. I didn't put that in my book. So when you're reading, it's not going to be there because I wasn't ready to actually share that. Now, the second book that's coming, I call it second book, even though I've wrote other books, but that one is more about sexually, about women. So that's going to be a bit different thing. But growing into that times, and my grandmother, she's an amazing woman. She was really, we had our own routine. Well, it's amazing, it's fun with her. I know what she wants, I make it happen and everything else. But as soon as my grandfather comes along, because he used to be a tour guide, and Kenya is all about safari, so he's a tour guide and he will come home once in a while. Now, when he comes home, there's adjustment time. I'll get in trouble. He will beat me up. I used to hate being beaten. So I have to actually get, faster way of understanding, okay, my grandfather's here. Stop joking around and just do what you need to do. And the beating would stop because I'm like, okay, the rules and regulations, everything is here. So I have to watch out. But at the age of 12, I thought everything was good. A teenager with riding a bike sometimes, and you're not allowed as Islamically, they used to believe that, or you're gonna ruin your virginity if you ride a bike as a woman, or if anything happens to you and things like that. So we're not allowed to ride a bike. And so when my grandfather hears about these things, I get a beating, guys. Okay, so it wasn't that great. But then, so my grandmother came to me and, okay, let me go back when I was 9 first. My grandmother came to me and said to me, Barke, your dad died. And I was like, I don't know him so much, but I didn't know how the effect of that would do to me. But I was just like, okay. I didn't say or do anything. I was just like, okay, I was 9. I don't know what to expect, Even though when he used to come and visit me, I remember his shadow standing on the doorstep and he will watch over me. And I will be, the only thing that I really, really want to do is actually be close to him. I just want to know how or how it is, how close he's going to be. What is he going to say to me? And so when someone tells me your dad is around in the mosque area fetching water and things, and I run, I'll just go there and just be with my dad. But then he will take me, and it was like, when he's finished, put me in the car with my siblings, and I will look at my siblings, and I'll be like, you don't know how life is, It's like, you're so lucky to have this man in your life. You're so lucky to be driven up and down and things like that. And then it will be around the corner and he will be like, okay, Barke, you can go home now. And I'm like, I don't want to go home. I want to come with you. So when I was told my dad died, I was a bit sad, but then at the same time, I was just a child. So I didn't know the effect. Anyway, on his funeral, I saw my mom, and my mom was very sad. She's a fair lady, okay, so she's kind of whiter skin than mine, as you can see, and so her hair was all shaved, and she looked very sad, and she just had a baby, like 3-month-old baby, and my dad died. So I was just like, what's happening, because my grandmother was there. This is my mother's father, and she's the stricken one, okay? And you don't want to be close to that woman, I'm telling you, she's scary. So for me, when I heard that they're going to live with her in Zanzibar, so from Kenya, they're going to Zanzibar. And I was so excited because I'm not going with them. I'm glad not to be around them, I'm okay with that. But then I looked at my siblings and I was like, now they know how I feel, kind of thing, because my dad's gone. And now we all kind of, we don't have a father now. And so at the age of 12, my grandmother came to me and she sat down next to me. She sounded very unhappy. I didn't know. I was just looking at her and I felt something. And she asked me, Barke, what do you think of going to Zanzibar? My father, when he was alive, he used to take us every once a year to Zanzibar because that's where his families are and my mom's family. So it's kind of like a holiday. And that's what I thought is going to be a holiday. Yeah. I looked at my grandmother. She doesn't, because usually she doesn't ask me these things. I'm like, why she's asking me? But, as a child, you can't say anything. Anyway, I was quiet. I was just like, I don't know. You're the grown up. So anyway, packed my bags. I was shipped, yes, in the boat. I was shipped to Zanzibar, coming out of the port, and I'm looking around. I'm like, oh my God, it was so busy. And a woman shouted my name, Barke. I was like, yes. I looked up and I saw this beautiful lady looking at me. And I'm like, who are you? And she just looked at me and she's like, I'm your mom. I was like, what? I've got a mom. Oh my God, that was so amazing. I looked at this amazing lady and all I could think of is, I just want to hug her so much. I just want to be close to her. I don't know if you ever watched the monster movies, okay, Monster Inc. There's a green monster that it looks like I hope it is the right movie anyway. It's like a jelly and he loves hugging. So every time he hugs someone, they go inside of him and it's so funny and they have to bring it out. So I want it to be like that. So, and I looked at my mom, she took me and I was just staring at her, really, literally staring at her all the way home. And she didn't say anything. She was just smiling. And we got home and it was one compartment with two houses inside. One is my uncle and one is our house. Our house we're living in with my grandmother and my auntie and my mom and my siblings. So it was a full-on house, yeah. And so what happens is that I started to be kind of like an observer because I started watching everybody. I've never lived with so many people in the house, it was just me and my grandmother. And so what happened is that you guys, you have to understand, I was a tomboy, okay? I had my hair short, I wear trousers, and I like to just, go up and do what I need to do. My grandmother sat me down and said to me, okay, now from now on, you are going to let your hair grow and you have to wear dresses because women don't wear trousers. And I was like, oh, okay. And so I had to follow the rules. But then what happened is that I started listening and I started looking and observing what everyone is acting, how they do things, and what is happening. It was a family fun because they used to love taking us to, picnics in the beaches and things like that. I love it's amazing in Zanzibar. But the inside of the house, my grandmother used to have this habit of saying, you children killed your dad. Now you come here and you want to kill me. And I was like, how can she say that? But then you can't ask, you can't say anything. So, and then the way she was acting, she was like, the food will be cooked, yeah? And when the food is cooked, she will take all the meat or she'll take all the fruits and she'll hide it in a room. But then when the food starts to get off, she will take it out. Okay, eat, children, eat. And I'm like, this doesn't make any sense, And another thing was that she has this habit. My uncle, who's looking after us financially, he's the one who lives in Saudi Arabia at the time. And when she's in a call with him, she used to say to him that, don't worry about these children. All these girls are bad. They're horrible. You don't need to send your money to them. They don't need to go to school. Girls don't go to school. No. They're just going to get married and they go to their husbands. You don't need to worry about it. You look after your sister's children because they're all boys. They need you. They're our investment. They're the children, not these ones. And I was like, wow, how can you say that? And anyway, one day, I hate chaos, okay? I hate people making noise or things like that. And I had, oh my goodness, my sister came to the house. Next thing, my uncle came and started beating her. I ran to the bedroom. I went to the bed, underneath the bed, and I'm shaking, literally shaking myself, and I'm just so scared. And what happened is that, hearing all of this going on, my sister got away and ran to the toilet. She closed the door, and my uncle didn't get in time, so he couldn't break the door, he couldn't open the door. A few minutes later, my uncle left, and my grandmother went to the door, knocked on the door, and said, "Hey," they called my sister's name. "It's okay, I'm here. You can open the door now." And my sister loves her grandmother so much. She opened the door. When she opened that door, my uncle came in and finished the job. In where I was so angry. I kind of like reject, what you call it, brought my dad kind of in front of me. And I said to him, "Why did you have so many children? Why did you leave us and die? And you left us with a burden. Nobody wants us. They treat us like so badly. Look at your wife," I said. "My mom, she's like a Cinderella. She has to clean. She has to do things. She has to, I don't like it. Why?" And then I went and started looking at the side. I'm like, "God, why did you create me as a girl? Girls are bad. They're weak. They can't do anything. I'm so little. I want to be a grown up. I want to do something about this. I want to help my mom. I want to take her away from this misery. I want to do something. Can you please take me out of here? Take me to a country that I can help, that I can do things for myself, and I can help my family. Take them out of this poverty. I don't care what you do, what's going to happen, but just take me out." Anyway, my uncle, okay, even though he does beat us up, I got only once maybe a slap on the face, but he used to be my favorite person, okay? He used to bring tourists in the house, and I love languages. So I love speaking English, and French was my favorite language. I was always failing Swahili, my own language, and Arabic. I was always the last, trust me. It was, yeah, that bad. But so when he brings them, I speak with them, and then we create a rapport. So for him, he gets a good relationship with his clients. So when they come back, they will use him again. This time, my auntie, when I came back from school, and I was working so hard in school to show that, look at my qualifications, you look at what I'm doing. I'm the first in class every year. So keep me in school. You know what I mean? That's what in my head, I'm like projecting up to them. And I'm like, come on, I'm doing great here, yeah? And at one time, I was so upset. I written a letter to my grandmother, and I wrote that letter, and I was crying, and I was like, "Please come and get me. I don't know what I did. Please forgive me. Whatever I did, just forgive me. I'll be the best granddaughter ever. Just come and pick me up, please." And I put this letter and I gave it to my uncle. I never saw it back. I saw my grandmother came to visit me. She sent me bras. I didn't have boobs at the time, so it was like, okay, thank you. But I couldn't even say to her anything. I couldn't tell her. I just let go. So at the age of 15, my auntie came to wake me up after school. I have a nap after school. She called me, "Barke, your uncle needs you." And I thought, oh, another tourist. Yeah, another tourist came. I put on my lovely gown and I went there. When I got there, I was like, who's this? Because usually, okay, tourists in our country is a white person, okay? You're meeting someone who's black and you're like, what's going on here, So I was like, okay, I was guarded and I was like, I'm not saying anything here. So, and then this man started speaking Swahili as well. And I was like, oh, okay, something is going on here. And I looked at my uncle and he started asking me personal questions like, oh, can I have a photo of you? I'm like, what? No, photo of me. I looked at my uncle. I was like, oh, what's going on? No, I don't have any photo of me. And then he was like, oh, God, what about school and things like that, where what you're doing in schools? And I was like, they never asked me personal questions. This is weird. So I looked at my uncle and I was just like, can I go, please? Because nah, I'm not answering anything. Anyway, I went back to the house, the next door house. 5 minutes later, all I hear people screaming in the house. And I'm like, what? They're screaming? What's going on? And I went to the living room and I'm like, what's happening? He said yes. I'm like, what do you mean he said yes? Who said yes? He said yes. Well, who said yes? The man you saw. He wants to marry you. I was like, what? What do you mean he wants to? Who? What? Me? Nah. I'm doing good at school. And I'm just like, no. And I thought, it happens before, trust me. My sister, she got engaged and then they changed their mind, yeah. So I'm like, this man is going to change his mind. It's not going to happen, yeah. So 1 year, I was taken out of school and I started to be taught how to be a wife. So lessons. I had to learn how to cook. I had to learn how to wash up and how to be a good wife, okay? And nothing else about you is about looking after your husband. At the age of 16, I got married. At that year, people thought in school, I had some people, they were questioning my sisters. They're like, oh, but is Barke pregnant or something? That's why she's been taken out of school. And I'm like, okay, no, but I couldn't say anything. Nobody knows what happened. Anyway.
And at this time you were 16 years old.
Yes. So they waited for 1 year. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And at that time, so I was just really, my mother-in-law and my father-in-law, they came. So like 8 months, I was living with them. And they were just telling me stories about this man that I'm going to marry. So I fell in love with them, you know what I mean? And I was just like, okay, this is good. So I was living with my in-laws for nearly 8 months or so. And because she's a white lady, my in-law, and so English for me was, I love it. So it was really good. And we get along really well. Anyway, I met his brother. He was totally different from my husband at the time. And kind of like, okay, I was very strict in a way that I didn't know what this is, okay? I didn't want to get married. I told, my grandmother called me to her bedroom and she said to me, Barke, you're getting married. And I was just like, no, I don't want to get married. And she looked at me, Barke, you are getting married. And I was like, no, I don't want to get married. I got a slap on my face twice. And I looked at her and I was like, what's the point in fighting? Okay. And I was just like, okay, whatever it is, yeah. And I started praying. I didn't have a friend. I didn't have anyone to talk to. So I went to God and I said to God, nothing will happen except you have to will it. You have to make it happen. So you're the only one who can make miracles as well. So here I am. Okay, I'm going to pray and I'm going to read the Quran and I'm going to fast and I'm going to do whatever it takes. But I need answers, you know. Anyway, and I said at the end, I was like, okay, this thing is going to happen. That means you have a plan for me. That means there's a bigger reasons that I'm not seeing yet. So what I done, yeah, I actually enjoyed my wedding day. I had fun. I danced all night and I enjoyed myself because in our country, when you get married, it's married for life. There's no such thing as divorce.
Right.
So,
and this now, are you in Tanzania or are you in Kenya?
Tanzania.
Zanzibar. All right,
yeah.
Zanzibar. Okay.
And then he came and we got married September 2000. And that is when, as well, a few days later, I actually took a plane and come to UK. And my life started now. At the beginning, I've never lived in a flat before. I felt like, wow.
When you say flat, you mean like an apartment block, high-rise buildings.
Yeah.
And most of the time in Tanzania, you were in a house.
Yes.
So it must have
Yeah,
been it
always.
must have been a culture shock for you coming from Tanzania, black Muslim woman married to a white from the UK. Well,
No,
what?
he's black.
Okay, okay.
He's black.
I thought you said the family was white.
My in-law, one of them,
Oh, one of them
the
is
mother
white. Okay,
is
okay. So
white. Yeah,
that's what I wanted to clarify for the for
yeah,
the
yeah.
for the audience also. Okay, great.
Mm-mm.
Okay,
But he's African. So
okay.
he came, he was adopted.
So one of his parents is white.
No, 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 no. So his his mom, okay,
Yes.
his mom is from Zanzibar.
All
He's a
right.
teacher, and his family is well known because they are, all of them are teachers, and the Arabic, the Quran teachers as well.
Okay.
So what
So they
happened is
they
that,
they, they teach the Quran.
yeah, teach the Quran, but also as a teachers in schools as well.
Okay.
So what happened is
And
that,
that is the mother.
yes.
The mother. Okay. All
So
right.
the mother is her brother who was living in UK couldn't have children.
Okay.
So, and she was going through divorce at the time. So she had a little one as well. And she
Right.
had a daughter as well at the time. So what happened is that they took two boys for her.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So they adopted two boys from the sister and they
Okay.
brought them into UK. One was 4 years old and the other one, my husband, who was 11 when he came here.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
And the husband was white.
No, the husband was the African.
Okay. Okay.
The wife
Okay.
is the English lady.
Okay. Okay. The wife is the English lady. All right. So
Yes.
that's what I wanted to clarify. The husband
Yes.
is from Tanzania, comes from a
Yes.
teacher's family. Okay.
Yes.
Because yeah.
Yeah.
So because you kept saying
Yeah.
he and she, so I was a little confused.
Yeah. So
Oh, good.
those are
Okay,
my
carry on.
in-laws.
Yeah.
That's what they
Yeah.
became, my in-laws.
Right.
Now, I came to London, to UK, and the culture shock, but it was nice at the same time. Weird because I didn't even know like my clothes size, my bra size, or nothing. I was just wearing, I went back to become a tomboy. So tracksuits, short hair, simple, make it very simple for myself. Now, straight away, I got pregnant. By November, I found out I was pregnant, my first child. After my first child, it was very quickly, I got pregnant again on my second child.
Okay.
For the time for me, it was really, I didn't even feel like I kind of existed. I was there for living with, looking after the children, making sure my husband is looked after, making sure my children are okay. So my life, it became non-existent because I just had to do things and I have so much responsibility. And time went on. I've always had dreams. I've always had that fire inside of me. I wanted to do something, but I didn't know what I wanted. And I had that belief that one day, if I show my husband that I'm supportive, I'm a good wife, I care about him, I look after him, and he will give me that support back. That's my expectation from him.
And how old were you by now?
So at that time, I was what? I would say 19, 20.
So you had two children before the age of 20.
Yes. My second child, I was 18.
All right. And children are boys, girls?
Girl and a boy. So the daughter is the first one, and then the son, the second child.
Wow, excellent. And both, and you had the second child at 18 and the first at 17, is it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, brilliant. Great. So it's something which a lot of people in India will identify with, because in India also we are though we worship a lot of goddesses, we are still a patriarchal society, right? So patriarchal society is not just Abrahamical cultures like Judaism, Islam, and Christianity. It's prevalent the world over, and I think that's one of the reasons that the world is in a bad state today, because we've never understood the gender balance. So I'm happy to learn all this from you. Go ahead with your story, ma'am.
So for me, my life, I just, like every birthday, I had this desire of wanting to learn something. So I will actually enroll myself to college. And within that time, I would love to learn until they ask me, you have to do a test or you have to do an essay, and I will run. I will
Right.
run a mile. I was so scared. I had this fear of failure, and I couldn't take it. But what happened is that I realized I wanted something. I wanted to help people. So at the first thing I did was that I saw on TV one day advertisement of PCSOs, and that is police community support officers, because I didn't believe myself that I can become a police officer. So when they did the police community support officer, that's a lower than the police officer, and I was like, oh, I can do that. So I was so excited. I went to my husband and I was just like, I'm looking for his blessing, okay? And I went to him and I was like, oh, I've got an idea. I know what I want. I want to become a PCSO. And he looked at me, really, there's nothing, no reaction on the face, expecting like a child comes to you and you're like, hey, what's happening? Nothing. And I was like, come on, think about this. If I become a PCSO, a year later, I can become a police officer. After
Right.
that, I can actually because there's a ladder you can climb. I can even become a detective. Can you imagine that? I'm selling it to him.
Right.
Nothing. And for me, I thought he would understand because he works in a police station. He's a police staff.
Right.
And all he said to me was that that's not for you. That job is not for you. And I'm like, what do you mean? It's not for you. You don't even have a degree. You don't have anything. How can you work? How can you become a police officer? And
Right.
I'm like, they're training us. They're going to give you training. And he looked at me and was like, no, if you become a police officer, you'll have do you know what they're doing? I work with them, I know. And I'm like, what do you mean? Most of them, they will have affairs. Most of them, they will break their marriages. Most of them, they will do this. And I was like, that's not the point though. I'm not gonna do that. I promise you, I'm faithful.
So he was doing a mild version of gaslighting with you.
Yes, but I didn't know anything about those things at the time.
Right.
So,
Right.
and I was like, no, I mean it. I want to do this. And that is the first kind of disagreement that we have in our marriage. And even like it went to the point that I had to talk to his father. And I was like, I don't understand. I really don't understand. Really couldn't understand. How can he say no? And so I talked to his father and I was like, please explain it to me, and he was like, oh, you have to listen to your husband. And I'm like, but you're not getting the point here. We're gonna buy a house if we get that job. We're gonna do this, it's gonna help us so many. He complains about everything and I want to help. And so he said to me, my husband, what if you just go and work in a cashier, in a what you call it, like Tesco's, shopping
R-
centers and
Right.
things like that.
Right. Like a supermart or a hypermart
Yes.
or yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So because
And yes,
those are jobs meant for women like you is what he's trying to tell you.
but I couldn't see myself doing those jobs.
Right. Right. Because
And so
he
for
was
me,
trying to put you in a box, thinking
yes,
because he's already done the gaslighting with you, made you kind of doubt your own self-esteem, made you doubt your own ability, and now
mm,
he's trying to again put you into a box by saying you can only do something like this, like a retail
yes,
salesperson. So
mm,
that's exactly how many men the world over manipulate the women to make them think that they are inferior without realizing that
exactly.
that if you just kind of understand how equality works and how the other all genders, not just the female gender, but even unfortunately the world over we don't have respect even for the other genders like the LGBTQ gender. And I think
Mm,
that also is a manifestation of the patriarchal mindset which is advocated in most religions.
Yeah.
I've always tried to figure that if Adam and Eve were created by God, and I'm not a believer in God, like I've told you before. I don't believe in God or any religion, but if God was this almighty powerful person who could create Adam out of nothing, why was he a misogynist to create Eve out of Adam's rib? Why could he not create her also from nothing? So sometimes the holy scriptures completely befuddle you. They confuse you, and that's how I stopped believing. But anyway, go ahead.
Okay. Well, that's another thing we have to talk about that another time. But
Right.
but end of the day, so what I said to him, I was like, I can't see myself doing that job. So he said to me, what about teaching? And I
Right.
was like, that was part of my list that I wanted to do in my life. So I was like, okay, let me try that. Yeah.
Okay.
So I went, because my children at this time, they're still young. And so in the nursery that my daughter went, I applied to go to become a nursery nurse. And I did it for over a year. After that, my children went to primary. I also did again, I applied to become, assistant into the school. But the thing is, I started finding myself that I don't like it because the smell is different. I don't know. There's a weird smell that I used to have this. And then the noise of children in a school, come back home, there's children making noise. I was just having migraines after migraines, and I couldn't take it. It was really unsettling for me. And I even, after my children, they were starting to get ready to go to, at the time, they're still in primary school. I also applied for the disability assistant in a secondary school. And I did that as well. At this time, while I'm doing that part-time, I'm also doing a mother's group. We were doing sewing. And I was going through my own turmoil of the sewing and things like that, because my father, when I went to Zanzibar, I found out, because we had sewing machines in our house, and I was so happy. I wanted to learn about sewing. But then when I heard, oh, who bought these sewing machines for us, I was so mad. My father bought us because he knew, okay, he had girls, okay? So he bought every girl a sewing machine. But what I didn't understand was that I was so angry, because I was like, again, why would he give us, wanting us to do a job of a kind of like a minor job? You know what I mean? Why we had to become seamstress? Why do we have to do that? So I was so angry with my dad at the time, even though he's dead. I was so angry he chose that for us. So when I went to this club of sewing club, and I was so angry that I didn't even want to touch a sewing machine, and I just couldn't understand it. But then I had epiphany, and I was like, oh, Barke, think about it. Like my mom, she didn't have a career, she didn't have a job, she couldn't pay or say anything about her own children growing up. So I thought to myself, my dad actually was clever. Even though if nothing works, there's a sewing machine here you can use and make money. So I thought to myself, oh, so it's like a fail kind of switch, kind of, you know what I mean? It's like a safety fail thing my dad was creating. He didn't say that you have to, he just put it there. It's there to use. You can make money with it. And I was like, oh, okay. I'm fine. I'm cool with it now. I can go and sew. I can do the sewing machine. And I did. And it was amazing. And after that, in Christmas time, we went to the, Canary Wharf, if you ever heard of it, is the most beautiful place and lots of offices. And I went there for the first time. And we did a big sale. I was so good at it. I felt like, oh my God, I could be a saleswoman. You know what I mean? I was like, wow. And after that, I was given my 300 pounds. First time I got paid for what I did. I was so happy. I ran home again to my husband. I'm so excited. I felt like I had like 300,000 in my hands. Yeah. And I was showing him, I'm like, can you have a look at this? It's all mine, And I was so happy. He looked at me like, That's it.
Right. So Barke, all the gaslighting is happening now. In the next 3 to 4 minutes, when did you take that step? Because your family also didn't want you to get divorced, because divorce has a stigma in your community, in your religion. But when is it that you decided to take that step to become independent, move on your own? And how old were your children at that time? If you could come to that part.
Before I come to that part, first of all, I have to tell this part of knowing what was happening. Because
Sure.
before, when, like you said, the gaslighting and all these things that was happening, I didn't know. I wasn't aware.
Right.
So my children were still young at this time. And what happened is that I I heard on TV that there is a scheme for key workers. Key workers is the people who work in the government, especially nurses, doctors, teachers, police staff, or police themselves. They will get a grant to help
Right.
them buy the first home.
Right.
So I was so excited, and I told him about this.
Right.
He didn't listen to me, but then a few weeks later, he came back home and he said he's going to do it. I was like, oh, yes, first time he listened. Yes, I was so happy. So he applied, and this is the thing about my husband at the time. When he applied for something, or when he put himself forward for something, he gets it. One time he gets it, and I was so envious with him about that. So I was so happy, and I was like, yes, we're gonna do it. Yeah. He sent me this he gave it to me, this like kind of a certificate, the way it looks, and it tells you 50,000 for the deposit, for the money. I was so happy. I looked at that 50,000. I was like, yes. And I was like, okay, let's go. Where are we gonna live? I was like, I don't even know London. I don't even know anywhere. Yeah. And I don't
Right.
care. Just let's find a home. We were taking too long. And I asked my brother-in-law, okay? I said to him, he already owns his own house. He has his own business. And I asked him, can you please come and help us and find our home? He did. He found time. He gave us time. And I was so happy. We found this beautiful place in Luton, okay? A lot of people knows Luton. So I was like, oh, this is amazing. So we're in the car. Well, his brother's already gone. We're in the car, and I said to him, can I see that piece of paper again, please? So this time I have time because I'm excited. Tomorrow we're going to go to offer, and this piece of paper is going to play a big part.
Right.
So I looked at this piece of paper and I was reading it now. You know, when you what they tell you, anything that anyone gives you or contract on it, you need to read the fine print.
Right.
So I was reading this fine print, okay? And I was like, I was like, oh my God. I looked at him. I looked at this piece of paper, and I was like, did you see this? And he looked at me. He didn't say anything. And I was like, did you see it? And the words came out of his mouth. I've never had anyone would say those kind of words. And he said to me, who's going to pay for the mortgage? I'm like, who's going to pay for the mortgage? I'm like, let's get the house. I will even put on a few hours somewhere. I'll do it. And he was like, you have nothing to give me, or you have nothing to show for yourself. What have you got? You have no education. You have no income. What is that you can give me?
Right. Right.
Do you
So,
think I want to
so
buy a house with you? He
Barke,
said to me.
we've taken a lot of time, so we'll have to now get to the
Okay.
main.
So what
Yeah.
happened there is that actually made me aware that
Right.
this man is not my husband.
Right.
What he's saying is not the way it's supposed to. But
Right.
I couldn't go anywhere. I looked at my child. There's nowhere for me to go.
Right.
So I had to surrender to that time until I get myself on my feet. That was the
Right.
plan.
Right.
12 years of marriage later, one day I wake up, I saw my face on the mirror. And I was like, who is that auntie? Because I don't know who that is. I've never met her before in my life. I looked at it again and I was like, oh my God, that is me. That day I had an awakening that I am not happy. Things are not working out and I want to be happy. So what happened? I said to him, I'm sorry, but I need my divorce. I can't live like this. So he thought I was joking when he saw me packing my
And,
bag
and
and
and you
leaving
are
the place.
28 years old now.
Yes, I'm terrible with math, so I hope so.
So you said to 12 years after marriage. And how old were your
Okay.
children? How old were your
My children
children?
at the time, they were like 12,
So your girl was 12 and your boy was around 10,
11. Yeah.
11. Okay.
Yeah. So what happened is that when he saw me that I was very serious, he called my family, and most of
Okay.
them in my family are men. So he
Right.
told them there's something wrong with your daughter. You need
Right.
to talk to her because she wants a divorce.
Right.
And I was summoned because I didn't ask for that. I was summoned to this call. And when I say to them, they asked me, Barke, what's wrong with you? Why do you want a divorce? You have to understand, I've never complained about my husband. Nobody knows what was going on in my house or in my life. Everyone thought I was happy. And then now they hear, Barke, she wants a divorce.
Right.
So, and then they asked me, what's wrong? And I was like, I just want to be happy. I
Right.
am not happy. And they said to me, Barke, okay, they use the F word, yeah, but I'm not going to say that. So they said to me, there's no such thing as happiness in this world. There isn't. And I was like, what? It can't be. Come on. Can there isn't? No, there isn't. You've got a husband who looks after you, who cares for you. Just stay with your husband. You don't
Right.
need to go. And I said, no, I can't. I'm not happy. So they said to me, Barke, unless are you sleeping with anyone? Do you have anyone? Or are you drinking? Are you taking drugs? What's wrong with you? And I was like, no, nothing. Then we will disown you if you go for
Right.
divorce.
Right.
I was so scared. I went back to my husband. 2 years later, I was started doing, since the day that happened to me in the car when he said those things to me, I started
Right.
journaling, and I started asking myself why my marriage is not working. What's wrong with my life? What's happening with me? 2 years later, after I tried to leave him, one day I sat in the kitchen and the answers came to me.
Right.
And I saw him for the first time in my life that he's a human being. And everything that I projected is me, my projection is me, the way I expected from him, but he's not. So he could never hit or go to that place that I want him to go.
Right.
So he wasn't, but the thing is, what he wasn't satisfied with me as well is because he as well has his own weaknesses and is
Shortcomings.
a
Yes.
human being. You know what I mean? So first time I saw that, and I know deep down, and that's when I had clarity in my life. And the fear that I used to hold, because he used to tell me, Barke, no one will want you. Nobody is going to take you in. Your life is going to be horrible. You're not going to be successful in life. And all those things, all those fears that I had in me, I was so scared. And I was like, no, I'm not scared anymore. I
Right.
sat him down.
So he basically kind of created that fear psychosis for you and made you feel like a victim. In psychological studies, it is called the victim mindset. So,
Yes.
did you finally divorce him, or did you continue to live with him, and is he still with you? What is it now?
At that time, I actually sat him down and I said to him, we're done. And this
Okay.
time you can call the queen or you can do whatever you need to do, but we're done. I'm not
Right.
going back now.
Right.
And I actually did that. So what
So,
happened is
so
that,
you were around 31 or 32 years old at this time?
yeah, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
And I actually had to take my own divorce petition and going to the court myself.
Right.
I had to
Right.
walk far away, like about 4 miles to go to the right court and put it in myself. It
Right.
took me a year to get that divorce. It took
Right.
another 2 years for him to leave the family home.
Right. And how many years back was this?
This was when he left the house was 2017.
Right. Right. And so that's like 4 years ago. And
Yeah.
but Barke, you were not a person who while in the marriage, because of the gaslighting and the way he made you feel. And one of the things which men do very, very effectively, including men in India, because India is also a feudal patriarchal society. And one of the things men do very effectively is, instead of encouraging the woman to work and be independent, the men will always tell the woman that, don't worry, I will take care of you, I will buy you what you want. And the woman doesn't realize that what they're doing is making you financially and economically dependent on them.
Okay.
So, and that's a very subtle, I call it very subtle domestic violence,
Yeah.
because the woman is not realizing what is happening with her. But before we come to that, you said for the first time you opened up about the abuse and the sexual abuse that you faced as a child.
Mm.
Was that at the hands of a close family member, or how did that happen? I know you're going to speak about it more in your next book, but if you just want to tell about what is the kind of trauma that left you with from that time, because you said you were 6 years old at that time.
I felt that I didn't have any trauma with it because I didn't live or I didn't hold any grudge or anything with it.
So you let go.
Yeah, I
Very
let
nice.
go. Yeah, because for me, I wanted to know what was, like what is happening or what did they do wrong or whatever. But no, I let that go because it didn't affect me.
So it was
The
just
problem,
it was just one instance at the age
no, it
of
was
6.
many instances.
So it happened over a long period of time.
Yeah,
And was
I
this
would
a
say
person?
more, maybe 2 years or 1 year.
Was this person very close to you in the family?
It was his wife is, so his family are our landlord,
Right,
my
right,
grandmother's landlord, but his wife was a seamstress.
right,
So I had to go there. That's the only time because I had to go there to do my fitting for my clothes.
right.
So when he opens the door, he would take me to his room, to the
And
other room.
and did you tell your family about it? And was he exposed? No, you did not.
No,
So
I couldn't.
you dealt with this on your own as a six to
No,
eight. I mean,
I actually did talk to my friends, my little friends.
yes,
My,
but you're dealing with all this
yeah,
agony as a child who's just 6 to 8 years old, because if it happened over 2 years,
yeah,
and we'll learn more about that from the lessons in your book. So tell me,
yes,
Barke, I mean, interesting name of the book. What is your name, right?
yes.
I before getting into this, I want to give you a little background about the books I write. I write about stories of real heroes like you,
Mm,
and I want to
mm,
feature you in one of our books now called Karishma, about how all of us in life have brokenness, but when we break, we don't give up and break down. We persevere to
yeah.
break through, like Barke. And Karma Kari are all books which tell stories, true stories of real heroes, ordinary heroes who have done extraordinary things to make a difference in our world and in our society. And I was
Mm,
inspired because I think that the world does not really celebrate the real unsung heroes, who are
mm,
actually the only real heroes, because the heroes are not the movie stars and the sports stars and the celebrities that we worship, the idol worship, as I call it. And I remember, around that time when we announced this book in 2010 in the Karmavir press conference, Karmavir Awards press conference, a journalist told me, and she said, who will read your books? People want to read about movie stars and I said, people want to read about movie stars and sports stars. So no one will read your books. They won't sell. And I said, you know what? Movie stars and sports stars don't inspire me. There's ordinary people who are changing the world by moving a mountain, or a domestic house help who's built a huge hospital to provide free healthcare, or a boy who's never gone to school who's transformed 500 villages from wastelands into wetlands. They inspire me because they're changing the world, they're changing the country, they're changing our society every day. And I said, I want to be true to myself, and I want to tell true stories of real heroes so that our children and youth learn who the real heroes are. So tell me, what is the inspiration behind your book? What is your name? And what is the central theme of the book?
Now, my story, when I was writing it, it took me 3 years because there's my father side, there's I thought that I dealt with a lot of things, but when I start writing, you kind of things coming up. I was in
Right,
tears when I was writing about my dad because I miss him. But then when I was writing about my story, especially the like see through my eyes, that chapter,
right,
what
right.
was going on in my marriage
And that's what
and the
happens when
problems that happens.
you put pen to paper. the emotions, the feelings, the words flow. And nobody, I mean, the keyboard can't do that, because the moment you pen to paper, the thoughts flow directly from your brain onto the paper. And it's amazing how the writing just happens automatically, naturally. So go ahead, go ahead. I'm just sharing some lessons for the audience as you speak.
So what happened is that in 2018, when I went back to Zanzibar, I went back to Zanzibar as a divorcee, as a single mother, as a woman who is flourishing in our own journey. I'm coming out as an entrepreneur, as a public speaker, coach. And when I was telling my story to these young ladies, and my mom, my sisters were in the room, I wasn't scared. I felt free. So what happened is that people, I start hearing them, me too, me too, me too.
Right,
It happened to
right.
me as well. And what happened, I was still writing my book at this time. So I actually stopped for a second and I said to myself, Barke, who are you writing your book for? I'm writing for the Barke who is going through right now. Not the Barke that is already gone through and knows where she is, but the Barke is happening to their lives right now. So they can see it early, what's happening. So they know what is the telltales. So they know what they can do early, because it took me 14 years of marriage. If you read my story, the chapter after chapter, my life wasn't about hurting people. It wasn't about feeling selfish. This is about selfless. This is about going into your power inside and say it's okay, but also knowing and understanding that you went through all of these bad, horrible times of your life, and being able to say, I forgive you. I am okay. Looking at myself, when I remember I was underneath that bed and I'm angry with my dad, I made a promise to myself never to have so many children. And I did that. I didn't have so many children. And another thing was that I was so upset, and I called God and I said to God, take me away from this country. Take me to a place where I can flourish, where I can do things, where I can help my family. He did. He did just that. I'm in a country, UK, London, where women can be whoever you want to be. Women can drive, women can have a business, women can do whatever you want. You can do. There's even speaker's corner. You can stand there and speak all day long if you want to. But end of the day, there's a freedom. And I was like, oh my God, God gave me all of that. Even though there was pain through it, or there's pain what I went through. But even my dad didn't have, I didn't grow up with my mom and dad. Growing up with my grandmother, going to my grandmother, I was like, all of those things is like a chain. And I'm like, I have to tell my story. I have to share, because people look at me now and you see me like, you're always smiling, Barke. You're always laughing. I'm like, guys, I've earned this smile. I've worked so hard to gain this smile or to laugh so loud. I am blessed. I am so grateful. So my book is for all the women out there who are going through either education, who are suffering from abuse, or who are suffering even from themselves. They don't believe in themselves. Even if they feel that, oh my goodness, no one is beside me, or no one is around me, nobody is coming to get me, or the horrible life, the injustice, the cruelty, the poverty. All I'm saying to you, you have you. You,
Absolutely, absolutely.
you can be your own hero. All you
That's
need to do is three things. You have a freedom of choice. You have a mindset that you can master, and your attitude. If you start with those things and then you bring two more things for you, love and forgiveness.
very nice. And I'm so much with you. And I must share this with you, Barke. We have oratory experience, which is what we do in corporate gatherings, in award functions, in annual meetings of business houses, associations like Rotary, Roundtable, Lions, BNI, etc. Even the Toastmasters groups. We have done it in all the places. We call it the Magnificent Seven. And the Magnificent Seven is stories of people who are broken but refuse to break down and have chosen to break through, just like you, Barke. And we would love to feature you because we are now planning a huge live event where we would have people from around the world tell their stories. And we have in our plans to have you as one of the stories which would inspire the people. And what you said is so true, that when you tell your story, it works like it employs principles of NLP, Gestalt, and self-help support groups or support learning circles. Because when you tell your story, like you rightly said, there are other people feeling, me too, me too. And I think that's exactly how the Me Too movement, which exposed people who were, doing sexual harassment or even trying to kind of, uh, prey on women, was exposed because one woman decided to start Me Too on the internet, on social media, and then the movement went spread like wildfire. But of course, not too many were punished, though they should be. But what you said is absolutely right. That when you share your story with all your vulnerability, with integrity, there are others sitting in the room who say, if she can get over this and break through, I can too. Because
Exactly.
we learn from stories of ordinary heroes, and that's exactly what inspired me also to start the Magnificent Seven, which is a book called Karishma the Miracle within the Karma Kari series. These are stories of people who are broken but not broken down. They're broken through, just like you, Barke. Barke, may I request you to read a couple of paragraphs from your book, paragraphs which are very dear to you because you've written the book as you wrote, and from those paragraphs maybe we'll learn more.
Well, it depends. Okay.
Can we also see your book again? Oh, very nice. I should get a signed copy from you soon, yeah?
Yes, you will. So this one is chapter 9, Fail Your
Yes.
Way to Success.
Okay.
Owning your story and loving yourselves through that process is the bravest thing that we'll ever do. Alan Watts. I stood up on the stage, very excited to be speaking at the Excel in London. It was a year before when I knew I was born to empower others through public speaking. And that was when I promised that I would speak at the same venue as I thought that there needed to be more women speakers. And here I was. It had come true. I was speaking with the best speakers at the Best You Expo, and I had a stand with my banner, business cards, flyers, and chocolates to introduce my name clearly in the field of motivational speaking. I had my dear friends and coaches who had come to support and encourage me. I was so grateful to have them there. Joshua Lee Graham, Safia Mohammed, Fatuka Samabayo, my son Faraj Kamuss, who introduced me on stage. The audience was amazing. After I'd finished, I had the most amazing feedback from everybody and got connected with great people. 2 years on now, a single mama and a self-made woman, I am sitting here writing this book. This is my third attempt at writing my story, as it has been an emotional ride. I sit here and consider as to why I am writing this book. Who is going to read it? And what do I want my book to be really about? Who am I writing my book for? As I looked at the world, there are a lot of women and young ladies suffering through self-infliction, environment, culture, religion, and validation through others or on themselves. Some are not aware of why these things happen to them. Some know exactly why they are happening, but are scared or do not know what, how, or where to get support from. As you have read this much already, you can see yourselves what I have experienced, and you should know how you're feeling right now and where you are still in, whether you are still in that place of pain or if you're already free. Nonetheless, now you are stronger and more empowered to keep moving forward, and there is no room to go backwards, only forward.
It's very powerful lessons. And I completely agree that there is no thought or even a any kind of feeling of going backward ever, because the only way is forward, onwards, and upwards. Yes, you're reading another
Exactly.
paragraph.
Yes, I'm going to read another paragraph. So this one's chapter 12. Forgiveness is power. To forgive is the highest, most beautiful form of love. In return, you will receive untold peace and happiness. Robert Muller. Last part of law of attraction is receiving, and it has two parts that you have to do before you receive. One, letting go by forgiveness. My journey has taken me to empower and inspire others who are going through some tough time in their lives and who are willing and ready to master the power within themselves. Thank you for coming along with me on my journey thus far and seeing yourself grow within too. Everyone who comes into my life, I see them as having a purpose, often to teach, often to gift me with great memories, but always for a reason for which I am thankful. The best way to have a successful life is to appreciate each and every bit of it, and by having a conscious understanding that the fragile element that threads us all in unison is that we are all human. You
Very
want me to read a bit
nice.
more?
No, excellent, great lessons, Barke. And very few people in the world understand the power of forgiveness, and
Yeah.
they also don't understand that when you don't forgive and when you don't let go, you
Mm,
are creating your own prison for yourself with your resentment, bitterness, and lack of forgiveness, and it's not even affecting the other person. So I
no.
think that's a great life lesson for all our viewers, for all the people who are reading your book, that when you forgive, you're not doing the other person a favor, you're doing yourself a favor, because you let go, you freed yourself, you're liberated to move on without letting that, what has happened to you, what people have done to you, weighing you down or holding you down. Parker, tell me a little, and you'll have to tell us in the next 5 minutes about your be your own hero mission, which you have embarked on now as an entrepreneur, as a social entrepreneur, missionary passionpreneur, as we call it. And I think there's some great life lessons here, because you're an entrepreneur at the age of 32 when you decided to step out into the sun and become independent again, and you had to find your own way. And we actually kind of are doing a program for the youth in India and the world over called the Mojosh Inspirator Life Leadership and Learning to Learn lessons, where we are empowering them to think independent, because there are no jobs out there thanks to the pandemic and the lockdown and the isolation. There are no career options. So
Mm,
we created a program around 5 years ago called ABCDE. Anybody can do entrepreneurship. And you're a classic example, because you are a entrepreneur, who started at the age of 32, 33, and it's never too late to start. You can even start at the
yeah.
age of 60. So tell us
Mm.
more about your venture, your mission called Be Your Own Hero, and what is the vision going forward?
Now, for me, as the book says, what is your name? Okay. This is where the mission of Barke Beyond Hero came along, because unless you can answer that question, what is your name? Because it's all about self.
Right.
If you know who you are as a person, then you will be able to actually live the life you want. So you have to master who you are. You have to actually know what gifts, what greatness you've got inside of you for
Right.
you to be able to shine to
Very
the rest
true.
of the world.
Very true. And that's what you're doing. You're working with women, you're working with young girls, just like you when you were married off at the age of 16, right?
Yeah.
And I'm very happy that you shared this, because there are some great lessons over there that where you spoke about forgiveness, and that's exactly what the Mojo Inspirator lessons are all about. And it all
Mm.
starts by knowing your own vulnerability and who
Yes.
you are. And
Mm.
most people in the world, they have lovely names, but most
Mm.
people don't even know what their name means. And
Exactly.
I
That's the
find
second chapter.
uh, I find that very strange that you've not even bothered to find out something about your own name. How
Yeah.
strange is that? And I mean, you just have a name and you use it, you flaunt it on your business card, on your email, but you don't know what it means. And I think
Yes.
I think that's the reason most people never go inside. They are
Yeah.
only kind of living in the materialistic world, always trying to
Mm.
project something without really going inside, because you don't even know what your name means and you don't know who you are and you don't have a purpose. So what is the point of running very fast when you don't know which direction you have to go in? So I think those are some great lessons, Barke, and thank you for sharing them with us about be your own hero. Any concluding thoughts or insights that you want to share with all our viewers and readers? And thank you for everybody who has joined in on Facebook Live and have left some comments behind and sent some likes and some hearts for Barke. Please do buy her book. It is available on Amazon. I promise you, it has some brilliant life, leadership, and learning to learn lessons that we have covered in our Mojo Inspirator book. Lessons like forgiveness, interdependence, vulnerability, integrity, humility, gratitude. And I think we've learned some of those lessons in the past 1 hour during our conversation with Barke. So please do support Barke's mission, because proceeds from this book are used by Barke to empower other young girls and women. So that's the name of a book. What is your name? And Barke, yeah, tell us any concluding
So
thoughts and insights you want to share with all our viewers and listeners who are listening to your story, very, very with intent to learn more about how they can liberate themselves.
so chapter 2 is called What is Your Name? I went through that myself. Okay. I wanted to change my name to be called Habiba. Habiba means my beloved in Arabic.
I know,
And
absolutely.
and so my teacher in secondary said to me, he used to call me Barki. And I was like, why are you calling me Barki? And he says, because in Arabic there's no A, there's no E. There's only E or A. So either Barka or Barki. And he calls me Barki. So until I started writing my book and I wanted to know, oh my God, what does my name means? Who am I?
Right.
And that question kept coming. What
And
is
that
your name?
and that's a
What
zillion
is your
dollar
name?
industry, because most people don't know who they are.
Exactly. But then there's more to it than just name. So what
Absolutely.
happened is that I asked myself, okay, what is my name? My name means blessings.
Very
And
nice.
my life is blessings. So, and this is why my life, what I went through, I've gained so much blessing, but now I am here to give blessing. And
Very
that's
nice.
what I'm here for. I am not here, it's not about the money, it's about helping. I want to help as many people as I can in the world, and especially women and young girls, because
Excellent.
those other people are not be shown in the front seats of the anywhere. They're more as men, and I know men are going through a lot, but I need to shine the light for women. Women, you are capable. You are the pillars of these communities. We cannot have children without women. So we
Absolutely.
have to praise them. They're our mothers, they're our daughters, and they're our sisters. Look after them. Love them.
And whether we like it or not, they are our creators and nurturers, because it's not the men who
Exactly.
who actually birth human beings or any other life, and it's not the men who nurture, it's mostly the woman who nurtures. So I think that's why the
Exactly.
the status is not just equal, it's higher than men. And I
Yeah.
think all the men folk who are listening in should learn that. And many men who work in jobs in the corporate sector, and I do corporate trainings, when I ask them, what work does your wife do? And they say, she doesn't work, she's a housewife. And I'm like, seriously, you still call them housewife? And I said, I tell them, try staying at home for 3 days. The job and the boss will start looking better, right? Because if you think that your wife does not do any work, you're sadly mistaken. So I think that's a lesson that I want to leave behind with. And I'm completely with you, Barke, and I'm happy that you shared the meaning of your name, which means blessings. Similarly,
Yeah.
Geronino, which is my full name, Geronina, is
Mm,
a derivative of a name called Jerome, which
mm.
basically means the sacred word or the sacred name. So once you
Wow.
understand the power of your name, you want to
Yes.
live up to that name. That is the
Exactly.
science of it. And then you want to understand who you are and reflect more on
Yes.
that and discover and unleash more of yourself. And
Mm,
Barke, like you said, we all have our own stories. And when you shared your story today, it triggered my own story, because I also lost my father when I was 7 going on 8. uh,
mm,
and um, and seen life very closely, seen life in a stage of penury when my mother couldn't really afford, because she was cheated out of the family, etc. Anyway, it's a long story, but the whole idea is life, suffering, struggle, hardship, brokenness, um, suffering, pain happens to all of us. None of us
yes.
can be free of it. Not a single
Mm,
soul in the world can be free of it. Not a single human being. But when we
mm,
break in that brokenness, do we choose to persevere and break through rather than giving up and breaking down? That is what we call charisma, the miracle
mm,
within each of us. Because the miracle
mm,
is not in the church or the temple or in the mosque or anywhere. The miracle is within you and me. And if we don't choose to unleash it, nobody else can help you. And that's why, in the Magnificent Seven, we feature stories of people who are not just physically broken, but many people are emotionally, mentally,
yeah.
spiritually, and even
Mm,
morally broken. And next week we have Michael Emmett, who was a gangster, narcotics trafficker, addict, a person he didn't want to know in his earlier life, but how he embraced blessings again
mm,
and transformed his life, and today wants to help, just like you, Barke, just like what a lot of us do. He wants to help more people to recover from addiction, to give up addiction, and
yeah.
is leading a completely different life. So next week we have Michael Emmett. A movie is being made on his book called Sins of Fathers, sorry, a TV series. Very popular person, again based in the UK, based in London. And
Oh,
great, Barke, and pleasure having you with us to share your story. I have personally learned a lot more again today. I learned a lot when I first heard your story during Kamara Youths, and today
mm,
again I've learned a lot more. And pleasure always learning from you. Thank you so
thank
much.
you.
Any closing
Yeah.
words, and then we shall close.
I would like to actually read a quote from you, if that's
Go ahead.
okay.
Go ahead, please.
As a human being, we all want to be happy and free from misery. We have learned that the key to happiness is inner peace. The greatest obstacle to inner peace are disturbing emotions such as anger, attachment, fear, suspicion, while love and compassion and a sense of universal responsibilities are the source of peace and happiness. Dalai Lama. Thank you.
Thank you, Barke. Thank you for making the time to be with us on the
Thank you.
Experience School Convos with inspiring best-selling authors like yourself. Thank you to all the people who have joined us on Facebook Live. We will also be uploading this video on YouTube, LinkedIn later, and we will tag you in that, Barke. So keep doing the good work, upwards, forward, and onwards. So all the best and salam.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so
Alaikum
much.
salam. Take
Thank
care.
you. Thank
Namaste.
you. Namaste. Thank you. All right, Barke, take care.